Rev up your engines! Here we go. Here's a beautiful 2008 Bulleit Mustang. Gonna tell you the good, the bad. You might think about buying one if you're as smart as this guy and get a deal. Now, this Bulleit was purchased 3 years ago for $9 grand. The only thing he modified was the hood. Doesn't have the stock Bulleit hood. It only had 60,000 miles on it. Now, here's a lesson when you buy used cars. He was a smart guy. He was in the Army, and he went to this place in South Carolina. They were asking 17, but he got his federal credit loan for 9, came with the check, and they took the $9,000 check and gave him the car. Don't ever pay what they're asking. After all, it's only worth what anybody's going to pay for the vehicle. Now, he took it for a road test before he bought it, and he said he thinks he got it about 3 feet up in the air, and he heard a noise and noticed that the right front tie rod had broken. Did that deter him from buying the car? No, it didn't. He bought it and fixed the tie rod. If you're a serious driver and you've ever driven one of these, yeah, you'll probably fall in love with it. Unbeknownst to him, he made a brilliant decision, which I'm going to show you right here. This baby, being a 2008, has a 5-speed standard transmission. These are virtually indestructible transmissions. But if he would have bought a later model one with the 6-speed transmission that was made in China, those things were terrible standard transmissions. She took it to the track. Ford said, sure, you can take them to the track. She blew 3 of those standard transmissions racing around. And Ford replaced them, but it was with the same Chinese-made unit. When the 4th one broke, she said, take it back. I don't want it anymore. Ford took the whole vehicle back. They were just not made that well. They had a class action suit against them because people said, hey, the transmissions had problems. They either fixed them or replaced them. But they fixed them with the same parts or replaced them with the same transmission. They kept breaking and breaking. She went through 3 that they had replaced and then just gave up and gave them the car back. They weren't good transmissions. Here again we show you don't want something complex like that made in China. The quality isn't there. But getting this one so cheap with 60,000 miles on it, he got an even better deal than what he thought. We'll look under the hood and explain more. V8 engine puts out about 315 horsepower. As in its name, Bulleit, these engines are relatively bulletproof. Now, the original Bulleit in 1968 only put out 20 more horsepower and it was modified. It put out 335. And strangely enough, if you go down the road here a ways to Henderson, Tennessee, the original Bulleit lives there. Rather ironic. If you're thinking about buying one of these, here's a handy tip. You look at the Bulleit, okay, it's got the number here. You want to make sure it matches the VIN number of the car. A lot of guys try to make fake ones. That'll show you whether it's a real one or not. It means a lot in the resale value. Now, of course, you can bump the power up as much as you want. This one is still relatively stock. You can put a supercharger on it if you want. You can do whatever you want. But this thing was dynoed, and it was a little bit over 300 horsepower to the wheels. That's plenty of power for getting this thing around. And you do have to realize one thing about Bulleits. Like an actual Bulleit, they're very fast. But they also use gasoline up really fast. I drove a new one for a week years ago. I got about 3 miles a gallon. Now, mind you, I was driving like an absolute lunatic. But this guy here, he went to the airport in Nashville and back, which is only like 100-something mile round trip, and used up 3/4 of a tank of gas. Buy this for looks and for sound. We'll start her up and you can see what I'm talking about. Nothing beats that sound of a Ford V8. You don't even have to go anywhere. I could just sit here all day and listen to it. Why waste your money on a radio? It's got its own sound system. Now, as you can see, it's pretty much retro. They got a lot of old Bulleit styles in it. The seats, the interior. Hey, if you didn't look at the outside of the car, you could think it's a classic Mustang from the 60s. A real gear shift, not those stupid paddle shifters. It's upgraded, slotted and drilled discs, front and back. And unlike the original Mustang, it can go, but it can also stop quite well. That was a problem with the original ones. They didn't stop all that well. Many of them ended up hitting trees. You wonder why people buy these things? This is why they buy these things. You step on the gas. acceleration. Oh, and the sound. It's just too much. Okay, so what have we learned with this Bullitt? Some interesting things, especially for you guys that are buying cars, maybe modifying cars. Okay, a little bit less horsepower than the newer ones. Still goes like stink. They can run forever. They're solid. They put out good horsepower, make a great sound, and they can last forever. Say, oh, I don't want this 5-speed tranny, I want the modern 6-speed tranny. Well, in this case, you might change your mind on that too. A class action suit against the 6-speed tranny. These don't have any problems. Plenty of acceleration. Plenty of high-end speed with 5 gears. You don't have to put 6 gears, and in this case, if you swapped it out with a 6-speed, you got a transmission made in China that has notorious problems. This one does not have problems. You're actually better with the older design, because the minimal better gas mileage you get with a 6-speed, it isn't going to make much difference. These things drink gasoline. You don't buy one of these and worry about the price of gasoline, because you can always do like this gentleman does. He's got a tuner and he can run it on premium gas or regular gas. And guess what he does most of the time? He runs it on regular gas. He doesn't want to pay 30, 40 cents a gallon more for something that sucks gasoline. Because I do swear, I was driving one of these once, and I swore I saw that gas gauge slowly moving, kind of like a minute hand and a clock, you know? So now you know the truth about a Mustang Bullitt. How a 2008 like this might be one of the best ones you can get your hand on. You want to avoid the 6-speed standard transmission. Got plenty of horsepower, it can run forever. Now you know the truth about them, so you can make a wise decision. And if you could pick up one for 9 grand like he did with 60,000 miles on it 3 years ago, hey, do it quick before there aren't any left. And here's some bonus questions and answers. Ray OK says, we bought 2 Camrys, thanks to you. A TRD says 0W20 oil, and SE calls for newer 016. Why? They want to put a little bit heavier oil in the racing one because they think you're going to drive it a lot faster and it protects the engine better. That's just how it goes. I'll give you an example. I went to a Formula One race and I'm talking to the engineers. And I said, okay, I know you don't run the same oil in it. How does it work? And they said, well, in our practice rounds before the race, we run a heavier oil in the engines because they're older engines that are more worn and we want to try to make them last. But in the race cars, with the brand new engines, we put the lighter weight oil so they're a little bit faster. Toyota's worried about those engines wearing out in the racing development, so they're telling you to put a little heavier oil, and that's the only sense that I can make out of it. They're both excellent oils, but that would be the logic behind it. TR6 Tilo says, why are people buying electric cars? Were they bad at sums at school? You must be in another country. We call it addition. You call it sums. Yeah, it makes no economic sense because I just did a little video the other day where I showed that all you're going to save with a Tesla versus let's take a hybrid car like a Toyota RAV4 Prime, you're going to save like $400 a year in energy costs. And the Tesla costs, you know, $50,000 to $120,000. You're never going to recoup your money. So it is kind of stupid. A lot of people get the idea of electricity, you know, the future and all that. Well, I don't think it's going to be the future for a long time. And they're going to be a lot cheaper in the future, too. Remember, as technology goes on, prices go down. Wait till the prices go down and there's more competition. I would wait next year. In Chattanooga, Tennessee, down the road here, they're going to be making Volkswagen electric cars. And when they start making them and sell them, I guarantee you the prices are going to come down. And some companies are going to go out of business. And I don't think Volkswagen is going to be one of them. Tommy John says, do you ever do videos on motorcycles? Well, I've got a few of them. I love driving motorcycles, but it's not that popular subject matter. Millions and millions of more people have cars, and my whole plan here is to help out as many people as I possibly can help out. So, you know, that's why I mainly do cars. But of course, think about it too. It's very hard to shoot videos on motorcycles. One hand on a throttle and one with a camera, you know? You got to use your left hand for your clutch and shift with your foot, so it's not that easy shooting videos on motorcycles. I'll be making a few here and there. I'm going to make one of cleaning my motorcycle that I gave to my son. He never used it, so I'm getting it running so I can drive it around again. And it's filthy because it's sat for 5 years. It's covered with grunge, and I got this new waterless cleaning stuff from this company. I'm going to try it out, see if it actually works. It'll be a 2-for-1 video. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.